And now for some gaming and tech news that you might have missed, you know, considering you are playing your games and or just out living your life. Got a couple of things on the docket for gaming and tech this week, not the least of which being Hideo Kojima has kind of hinted at the idea of making boss battles for the next Death Stranding game very easy. Plus, the gameplay look at Marathon has finally dropped, like we talked about last week. We're gonna get into that. And Capcom has released a surprising update to a game that didn't necessarily need it, but the community is going crazy about it. So we're going to talk about all of that and then a bit more in gaming and tech. So put your controllers down and let's talk about the news, shall we? Welcome once again, nerds, to the Clips channel. This is a smaller portion of a much larger video called The Week in Nerddom that happens over on the main channel. This portion is specifically the gaming and tech portion, where we're going to be talking about brand new things in the world of gaming and tech. So like new computer things. We don't really get too deep into that. I feel like the guys over at Linus and Gamers Nexus and such cover that fairly well. So we'll get the broad strokes there. We'll get in a little bit more deeply in the gaming side of things, so new announcements, DLCs, etc., etc. And then, you know, we're going to suggest some things for you to try out between now and next time you come back. So thank you for joining me. Let's get into the news. Follow-ups and corrections for gaming and tech. We have a couple. So follow-up first for Nintendo Switch 2. This one isn't exactly tariff related necessarily, but it is Switch 2 related, which kind of vicariously relates it to tariffs, but not exactly money-wise. What are we talking about? Gamecube controllers. So those recreated Gamecube controllers that are specific for the Switch 2 because they have all of the extra buttons, i.e. the C button and the Hall Effect was it the Hall Effect joysticks? I can't remember. But at the very least, it has the C button. It's shaped like a Gamecube controller, which everybody loves. They're very specific. It would seem that the only games compatible with this very specific controller are only going to be the ones that are part of the Nintendo Online GameCube tier. So if you are not paying for the entire Nintendo Online catalog, the highest tier of which is the one that gets you access to the GameCube, I forget exactly how much it costs a month, but it is the most expensive option, then you would be wasting your money to purchase the new Nintendo GameCube remake controllers from Nintendo. Now, there is indication that the older GameCube controllers that have been adapted with Bluetooth connectivity and such might still work, though there is no guarantee anyway at the moment. Nobody's got the hardware in their hands to test such theories. So as it stands now, at the very least, just the brand new remakes of those controllers are not compatible with anything else, but it very possibly could be all versions of that controller will not be compatible with anything on the Switch 2, which kind of sucks, but is what it is. Next, we have Death Stranding. Death Stranding 2. We just got word from Hideo Kojima himself that there's going to be an interesting thing for the easiest difficulty setting on Death Stranding 2. So, when you die, if you die during a boss battle, there is going to be a new option on that menu screen. It used to be just a continue or quit option, and now there is, I forget the exact wording that they use, but basically it's going to be an option to continue the story without finishing the boss battle. So you can continue through the game without ever beating any one of the bosses. You just die every time you come up to a boss. And instead of getting the boss battle and the subsequent cinematic that happens at the end of the boss battle with every Kojima game, that's very specifically even with the Death Stranding games, you will now be getting a novelized version of the cinematic that you would have been able to watch had you actually defeated the boss. You do not have to take this option. You do not have to take this super easy option. You can go back and fight the boss again after he has killed you the first time, and as many times as you want, presumably. Or if you get fed up and you just want to finish the story, you have that option now. So again, there is no official word as to if this is going to be through all difficulty modes, though that seems unlikely given Hideo's history with the gaming industry, but also like making this easy for the easiest setting kind of also lines up with the current situation in the gaming industry. So yes, as we get more details, because there will be more details associated with this, especially by the time the game releases, we'll know for sure if it's all difficulty levels or just the easiest difficulty setting. We'll be keeping tabs, but we don't know that information yet, so let's move on. Next up is another update. This is for a game that was an unexpected update. This is patch notes for Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade, the Arcade Classics, that's what it was. Both versions of the game, there's the first one and the second one, both of these games are receiving this update, I believe, as we're talking right now, because it's supposed, yeah, April 16th. So I'm filming on the 16th. This is going to be live by the time this video is live. So what they're doing is they're adding a versus mode to every game in the arsenal for both of these collections, because these are both collections. Not just that, but for X-Men versus Street Fighter, you will have now the option to play one of the 3 competitive versions of the game instead of just the last update. I'm very unfamiliar with the competitive scene around this game, but apparently, according to Maximilian, because he's the one who has the best breakdown of this, go check out Maximilian, dude, if you need more details here. But according to Maximilian, there are 3 different versions of X-Men versus Street Fighter that they use in the competitive scene, and they all have different pluses and minuses. And before, for this collection, you could only play the final version of that, even though in the arcades there are 3 separate versions. Now you have the ability to switch between all 3 versions, which is pretty freaking awesome. Also, they're going to be giving menu button options so that you can avoid accidentally going into the menu while you're mid-match. And also, there's going to be new art and new music provided to just the second collection. I don't believe that one's going to the first. I think that's exclusive to the second Marvel vs. Capcom collection. So all in all, pretty awesome. Again, not a thing that any of the fandom was necessarily expecting. A lot of this is things that the fandom has wanted, but kind of have acquiesced to the idea that maybe it's not going to happen, and that's fine, I guess. Well, it happened and everybody's happy. So there you go. That's what we got for follow-ups and corrections. We do have one trailer. Well, it's kind of a series of trailers, but it's one game that has finally released some trailers, and that is Marathon. We're going to talk about that real quick. So we talked about this last week, how they announced they're going to be, they had this big whole AR thing that led up to a tease that said we're going to be releasing an actual trailer next week. Well, it is now next week, and they did a little bit more than that. They have a reveal stream, which is about 3 hours, if I'm remembering correctly. They have a cinematic story video, which is approximately a little bit more than 8 minutes, and then they have actual gameplay trailer, which is about 3 minutes, and then there's another trailer that is kind of a hybrid of all of it that's like 1.5 minutes, 40 seconds or something along those lines. Just kind of building the hype up to this game. I think one of the reasons that they're getting this hype machine going like they are is because this is not going to be a free-to-play game, which a lot of people thought when it was teased previously that this was going to be free to play to some degree. Maybe if they were going to do a story mode, that wouldn't be free to play, but the multiplayer is going to be free to play. It's not the case. It is going to be a proper release title that you're going to have to pay money for. I have not seen any sort of price point just yet that has been confirmed. There's a lot of guesses out there as to how much it's going to cost to purchase the game. Is it going to be, I think I saw one as low as $30 to purchase the game, and I've seen them go all the way up to the $70 price tag that we're seeing most AAA titles released at this point. Anyway, a lot of people are drawing comparisons between this and I'm going to forget the name of that other game that lasted a week. The hero shooter game that Sony put out. I'm totally drawing a blank. I apologize. Please, somebody down in the comments, let me know. Either way, Concord, there it is, I remembered. So people are drawing comparisons between this and Concord because Concord also was a familiar gameplay style game that had a paywall that was not a free-to-play game. But I think there's a pretty dramatic difference here in that Concord was a brand new title with no established fan base, and that isn't exactly the situation with Marathon. Marathon is older than Halo by the guys who originally created Halo, so there's already some name draw for both of those reasons. More so because it's Bungie than the fact that it's Marathon, but still Bungie, you already have an expectation here. I don't understand why people are being so critical of the fact that it's not going to be a free-to-play game when everyone in the FPS community who plays Halo for the first 2 years of its lifespan were absolutely critical of the fact that they released it too soon and that shouldn't have been a free-to-play. They should have put it behind a paywall so that way they could have taken the extra development time. Like, the community is so back and forth on some of these things, it just boggles the mind. So it is going to be behind a paywall. The trailer, though, some really cool stuff in the trailer. Shades of Apex Legends as far as how the story is developed and honestly the elements of the story. There's some shades of Apex Legends there. Also, as far as gameplay is concerned, shades of, what's the extraction shooter I'm trying to think of? Tarkov, there we go. Shades of Tarkov in there a little bit. It's not quite that ultra realistic. It's very sci-fi actually in the storytelling mode, but like as far as it being an extraction shooter, that's kind of where the comparisons end to Tarkov. But yeah, super interesting. The cinematic, the 8+ minute one is the one to watch just because it is of a level that you're expecting out of like the Love, Death and Robots series on Netflix. Like it's that level of storytelling. A little discombobulated and a little kind of murky as far as what exactly is going on, but I think that's by design. I think they're trying to make it a little confusing to create intrigue, and it worked with me because that was really intriguing. So, you know, there's that. That's everything I got to say, I think, about Marathon. That's what we got for trailers. Let's talk about some regular-ass news. We only have one piece of regular-ass news, and it is a tech piece, and it has to do with Patreon. So Patreon, for those that don't know, or if you've been living under a rock for the last, 15 years that Patreon's been a thing? Maybe not quite that long. Either way, Patreon, the paywall for anyone site, you can go create an account on Patreon and start posting whatever content kind of to your account and then ask people for money to see said content. Well, they're upping their game a little bit. This is honestly something that I'm very confused as to why it took them this long to implement, and that is streaming. They are going to start allowing streaming on their platform. It is currently in its beta phase. They are testing it with some creators on the platform, and there is a plan to roll it out very soon to all creators on the platform. So you might honestly be seeing me on the next off season do a little bit more streaming action that's going to go behind the paywall over at Patreon. I do have a Patreon, it's just very neglected. So they're going to be doing that. They're also working on an even longer term plan so that there will be integration with OBS, which is kind of awesome because right now, like YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok technically has integration, I think, but you need a third-party integration to mitigate between them. Very, very interesting. Rumble has no integration into OBS. It's very clunky if you're trying to stream from OBS into Rumble, but it is possible. Just not going to be the same. So that they're trying to fix that for the Patreon situation. Also of note that is going to be changing with the live streaming elements that are going to be added to Patreon is they're going to be adding the ability to purchase individual streams so that you don't have to, because you can already purchase chunks of content. It's up to the content creator. Content creator can say, all right, so you don't want to give me $3 a month or $5 a month or whatever Patreon creators request, right? So you don't want to give them the monthly payment. You just want to give them like $10 and get 6 months worth of videos that are already posted for that $10 or whatever the compromise is. That's already an option. The streams, you're going to be, as a creator, you're going to be able to offer it to your audience for the single purchase, or you can even gift them to certain audience members. the rundown that I read of it was not clear as to whether or not it would be something you gift to all of your audience, or if it's just going to be something you gift to your audience on an individual member level. We'll see when it officially rolls out, but pretty interesting. Great kind of expansion for creators to start to make a living. It's a great thing to offer more options for that. Hopefully more people are going to be able to do that. That is what we have though for regular S news. It's our one piece. Let's get into suggestion this week for gaming and tech. Our suggestion is Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. With this, we already have the rollback netcode, we already have the great online experience, and now we have proper versus mode. So you can do couch co-op versus, you can do online versus. It doesn't have to be arcade style the whole time. And, you know, you've got the additional versions of X-Men versus Street Fighter to choose from now. It's just, it's kind of as good as it's going to get, I think, for this game. So what a better time to do it. And like, if you don't already have it and you're a fighting game enthusiast, if you will, like, it's going to be a pain in the ass to try and collect all these games individually. Why not just pick up at least one, if not both, of the Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting collections, and, you know, do yourself a favor, because those are some of the best fighting games out there. So that's your suggestion for the week. Go play some Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Edition. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean. All right, nerds, before we go any further, as per usual, this is the season of the merch push. So go check out the link in the description and you can get yourself one of these gaming nerd shirts. This is the special shirt for the month. It is going to be active for at least 2 weeks. It did take me a couple of days longer. It literally took me like a day and a half longer to get up than anticipated. So it didn't go up until Wednesday when it was supposed to go up on Monday, but you know, things happen. So yes, gaming nerd, your specialty nerd, I think I'm calling them the special nerd shirts. So that's the month of April is this special gaming nerd shirt. I'm pretty proud of this design, not gonna lie. It's more than just the t-shirt like we have on the other ones. We also have the hoodie, we have stickers, we have a coffee mug, there's a metal water bottle so you can put your DUBBY in it and, you know, use that as it's not a great shaker bottle, but it works. So go check out the Generally Nerdy store, linked down in the description, so you can get your specialty deal. I will be running a coupon code. Hopefully I will have that ready by the time I'm editing this so I can put it on the screen. Otherwise we'll just talk about it next week. Either way, go get your special nerd gaming nerd shirt. Yeah, this is new territory for me in the designing of things, and I'm having fun with it. So go check it out, go get something while you're at the store, and let's get back to the show. Thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. If you want to level up your nerdy, geeky, pop culture knowledge, then don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy, for the larger portion. Again, you get all of these sections into one convenient video over on Generally Nerdy. The name of the show is The Week in Nerddom. Thank you for checking out this clip. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, probably here.